What's an opportunity?
I'd like to call the caucus to order. The solicitor and the treasurer are upstairs, so we'll run the caucus, and then if they're not down, we'll hold off for them for the regular meeting. First ordinance is from Finance Committee, an ordinance authorizing the clerk to make the necessary revisions to the revenue and appropriation budgets pursuant to the amended certificate dated September 18th, 2015, and declaring an emergency. Comments?
Just so we'd like to see it pass emergency tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, from Finance Committee for emergency passage, an ordinance approving the recodification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of the Village of Lordstown and declaring an emergency. Comments?
We also like to have us pass emergency tonight. This is just something we do every year to get things up to speed.
Okay, any other comments? Third is from Streets, Sidewalks, Public Parks, Buildings, Grounds, and General Improvement Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance accepting the proposal of KV Electric, LLC to install 3 37.5 kVA transformers within the Kunkel facilities and declaring an emergency. Comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to see that passed emergency this evening because one of them is totally down and the other two are obsolete, and we're hoping to be able to get that place running real soon.
Well, I will tell you, just as a side note, I got a call today from somebody that asked they'd like to look at it. And it is an organization which would be for a public purpose, and I did meet them there and show them around, and they'll be getting back with us, so we may have an executive session at the next meeting.
All righty.
They may want to take the whole thing.
Good job.
So we'll see what happens there. Any other comments on that ordinance? The last one's from Streets, Sidewalks, Public Parks, Buildings, Grounds, and General Improvement Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the Village of Lordstown to enact consent legislation in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5521.01, authorizing the Ohio Director of Transportation to proceed with any and all necessary repairs involving resurfacing Trumbull, Salt Springs, South Levitt Road, PID number 101707, which traverses the Village of Lordstown, and declaring an emergency. Comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'd also like to see this passed emergency.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, are there any questions on the minutes in front of you for disposal this evening? Hearing none, are there any questions on the bills? Hearing none, anything council like to discuss at this time? I know I got asked about trick or treat, and people I talked to, and I mentioned it to Ron.
Yeah, I've had a couple.
He had a couple there, and most people would like to see it the 31st on Saturday night. Mr. Blank said Newton Falls is the 29th, but everybody I talked to said they'd really like it the 31st. We probably should set a date, but I know pretty soon Bill's going to start getting calls.
We've already been getting them.
Nobody's concerned about it being a Saturday night and people out drinking and driving and more on a Saturday night.
Well, it's what, usually 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
You can't be too drunk before 7.
We can only hope so, but I mean, that's just, that's just Saturday night trick or treat. Pardon me? It is 5 o'clock somewhere. That's likely on a Thursday than a Saturday night.
Well, if it were a Friday night, it could almost be the same thing there also,
And I think that's why we went with Thursday last year, because it was Friday.
Do you have a
That's just
thought
my
on
opinion,
that?
but I have no children coming. I probably wouldn't let my kids go if it was a Saturday. I mean, it's just, people are crazy driving.
Well, I believe last year we stayed away from Friday because of Friday night football. I think I've always been in favor of having it when the majority of the communities around us are having it, so we have our people in our town. I understand Marty's concern, but I would be in favor of Saturday.
Yeah, but Newton Falls is Thursday. So
Yeah, but that's only one. When I talked to Bobby Copeland, he usually gives me a call after the meetings to find out what went on. And I asked him if anybody had set them, and he said quite a few had set it for Saturday night already. So, whatever council's pleasure is, I think under new business, somebody wants to have some discussion and make a motion on that. That's all I had.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
everybody's aware that we advertised for a fire truck and we received no bids. So under new business, I'm going to be making a motion that we advertise for another 3 days for any non-profit organization interested in it. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, I do have one other request from council. If you want to wait till the next meeting, we can. We had 2 seats open up on the Planning Commission and Zoning Appeals Board, and I'd like to have Larry Torra reappointed. You know, Larry has shown an interest, even though he's been there for a while. He did take several of the field trips we went, and he showed an interest, and also Tony Schofer. If nobody has a problem, I'll ask to have them reappointed, or we can wait till the next meeting.
Let's wait till the next meeting when John's back, if that's okay.
I don't care. They'll still be before the next
Before the-
meeting, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody's, aware of what I'd like to see put on. Anything else from council before we go to the regular meeting? Okay, I'm closing the caucus. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Lordstown Village Council meeting. So please stand and join me for the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bill, if I could have a roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Present.
Mr. Bond.
Here.
Mr. Mansell. Mr. Radka.
Present.
Mrs. Jones.
Present?
Mr. Shealy.
Present.
Mr. Reeder.
Present.
Clerk Blind present. Treasurer George Ebeling.
Here.
Solicitor Paul Dutton.
Present.
Fleet Chief Brent Milhone.
Present.
Fire Chief Travis Eastham. Planning and Zoning Economic Development Kelly Bordner.
Present.
Parks, Buildings, and Grounds Street Commissioner Dale Grimm. Present. Recreation Marty Gibson.
Here.
Board of Public Affairs.
Present.
Municipal Engineer Christy Jelnick.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to excuse Mr. Mansell. He had called me up earlier, said he's not feeling well and didn't want to spread anything around here. Fire Chief Eastham is still on second shift, but he feels he'll be getting moved real soon. I talked to him today, and he has no report. And also Chris Kajelnik said he had no report and has another obligation this meeting, so this
I'll
evening.
make that motion. Mayor.
Okay, motion by Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Shealy. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second by Bond. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting held September 8th, 2015, and the special meeting held September 15th, 2015.
So moved.
Moved by Shealy, second by Reeder. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for payment of the bills. Moved by Shealy, second.
Second.
Second by Radka. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor's report. We had a fairly successful apple cider festival. It was kind of slim pickings a little bit there with some of the, didn't have quite as many booths as we usually have, but on Saturday it was kind of rainy, but I think we had a pretty successful festival. I'll be asking council, to decide when to have Halloween under new business. LEC, the Lordstown Energy Center, has received their last permit. It was the 17th of September. They will be a 30-day appeals period, but since nobody has appealed before, people do not really have standing to be able to appeal it, so that permit will be finalized October 17th. The air permit was issued probably almost a month ago, and I believe the appeals period for that has come and gone. There will be just a couple more small I's to dot, and hopefully we'll be having a groundbreaking by the end of October. And that's it for the mayor's report. Is there a clerk's report?
No report, Mayor.
Is there a solicitor's report?
No report.
Okay. Is there a treasurer's report?
There is.
Oh, We better mark this one down.
You guys may be familiar with House Bill 5? Yes, no? Okay. It's a law that is attempting to impose a standard municipal income tax ordinance across the state of Ohio. So we have to adopt in some fashion this new municipal income tax ordinance. The solicitor, assistant income tax administrator, and I are working on fitting what we have at present into that. Now, in very short order, we'll need to have a work session so that we can go over this. This is the ordinance that you will have to adopt actually by the end of the year.
Okay, any questions for George? I know we're all in shock from getting a report. So. Okay, Board of Trustees and Public Affairs report. John.
Mr. Mayor, our regular meeting has been changed to Wednesday night at 4 o'clock here, and that's all I have.
Okay.
Is that this Wednesday, John?
Pardon?
Is that this Wednesday?
Yes, this Wednesday.
Okay, and the village engineer has been excused. Special reports, Police Chief Milhone.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've submitted my monthly report for August. Answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Brent? Okay. Fire Chief Easton's been excused. Planning and Zoning Administrator and Director of Economic Development, Kelly.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to report to you that I will have a written report in everyone's box, hopefully by tomorrow, if not, certainly by the end of the day on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Kelly? Parks, Grounds, Buildings, Street Superintendent Dale.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just want to update you on the blacktop, and I'm sure you're all aware. Salt Springs has been done. Industrial Trace West was paved today. Pritchard Old Town was paved. Pritchard Old Town Salt Springs Road was paid for by First Energy. We had a small amount of money in just a small section down at the end on $7,500. Other than that, those two roads were completely paid for by First Energy. Bailey Road should be completed this week. I'm sure you guys are all receiving complaints, as I am. But with that being an ODOT and a federal project, it's kind of, the timeline's kind of out of our control. So as soon as they're done, I talked to the gentleman today that's going to put the loops in for the lights. He told me that he is scheduled to be in towards the end of this week. So that's a pretty good indicator that they should be done paving.
Okay. Any questions for Dale? Yeah, we're getting beat up a little bit about those lights, but...
Lights and the pavement.
As a matter of fact, I got a phone call on Friday from ODOT asking if we could do anything with them lights after ODOT tore the loops out. So,
What about Hugh Gifford? Is it done?
Hugh Gifford is done also, yes. And LORDSTOWN. They still need to be painted, but once they get Bailey, then all that should be painted.
Dale, how much, you told me earlier, how much is
The
How
total
much is-
paving project for this year is going to be real close to $4.2 to $4.3 million in paving, including the First Energies.
and most of that is paid
It's
for
all paid
by other
for,
sources?
Okay. Recreation, Marty.
No report.
Any questions for Marty? Okay, Bill, do we have any correspondence this evening?
No correspondence.
Okay, public remarks. If you'd like to make a public remark after I acknowledge you, please come to the microphone and give your name and address so we can get it recorded in the minutes correctly. Public remarks. Okay, are there any council remarks? Hearing none, committee reports. Finance, Mr. Radicka.
Just that we have two pieces up for emergency passage tonight we'd like to see passed. That's all.
Okay, any questions for Ron? Parks, Buildings, Grounds, General Improvements, Streets and Sidewalks, Mrs. Jones.
Ditto what Ron said. We have two pieces of legislation we'd like to see passed tonight, too.
Okay, any questions for Karen? Okay, Public Safety and Welfare, Mr. Reader.
I'm just going to be making that motion under new business for to advertise the fire truck. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Don? Public Utilities, Mr. Bond.
I have no report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Bob? Transportation, Recreation, and Senior Services, Mr. Shealy.
I have no report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Howard? Hearing none, Bill, if we got the first piece of legislation.
From Finance Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the clerk to make all necessary revisions to the revenue and appropriation budgets pursuant to the minute certificate dated September 18, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules by Radka, second. Second by Shealy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Radka. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 47, 2015. Next, please.
From Finance Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance approving the recodification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Lordstown Village, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion by Radka to suspend the rules. Is there a second? Second by Shealy. Roll call.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Bond, second.
Second.
Second by Reader. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 48, 2015. Next, please.
From Streets, Sidewalks, Public Parks, Building Grounds, and General Improvement Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance accepting the proposal of KB Electric LLC to install 3 37.5 kVA transformers within the Kunkel facilities and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to suspend.
Motion to suspend by Jones, second.
Second.
Second, Shealy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Rader? Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Shealy, second.
Second.
Second, Radka. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 49, 2015. Next, please.
Streets, Sidewalks, Public Parks, Building Grounds, and General Improvement Committee for emergency passage. An ordinance authorizing the Village of Lordstown to enact consent legislation in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5521.01, authorizing the Ohio Director of Transportation to proceed with any and all necessary repairs involving resurfacing of Trumbull, Salt Springs, and Southwest Road, PIN number 101707, which traverses the Village of Lordstown, and declaring an emergency.
Comments or motions on this piece of legislation?
Move to suspend.
Motion to suspend the rules by Jones, second.
Second.
Second by Radka. Roll call, please.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to suspend the rules. The motion to adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Shealy, second, Bond. Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Radka?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried to adopt. Ordinance 50, 2015. Is there any old business council would like to discuss at this time? Hearing none, new business. Does council want to set Halloween?
I'll make a motion that we set trick or treat from 5 to 7 on October 31st, 2015.
Okay, everybody heard the motion from Karen. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Radka. Comments or questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Reader.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the clerk to advertise for 3 days for any non-profit organization for the fire truck. Anyone interested?
Okay, everybody heard the motion by Mr. Reader to advertise for the unused fire truck. Is there a second to that?
I think it needs to include tax exempt non-profit, yes.
Okay. Tax exempt non-profit.
And the advertisement should require that they submit a copy of their IRS letter showing that they are tax exempt.
The lower
501,
they pick should have to show.
yeah.
Okay.
Or in the ad say they're going to have to
Provide
that. Yeah.
Where are we going to advertise this?
Tribune on our website.
Okay, everybody heard the motion? Amended by the solicitor. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Radka. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any other new business at this time? Hearing none, are there any additional any public remarks? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Radka, second.
Good job.
Second, Shealy. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. There we go.
In about sometime in October.